Let's just crack a diet soda. And I await your questions. How may I assist you today, ladies and gents? Wow, hair's looking fabulous. How can I assist you all today? We are live on Carbon Diet Coach Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you guys want to drop your question in the question box, it's easier. I can pull it up on the screen. Imagine you're all typing away. Hey there. Yeah, if you guys wouldn't mind, just give me some hearts. Like tap, just mash that heart button. It helps us get seen by more people. Good question. First question. Does carbon take into account water weight the first week, or does it just take a few weeks to get the average loss and then evaluate? Eventually you'll be, sorry. So I can only see part of the question. Does it take into account water weight the first week, or does it just take a few weeks to get the average loss and then eventually you'll be losing exactly how much you want? So the answer to your question is yes, it does take into account the fact that you're likely to lose more body weight during the first week due to a loss of body water. So basically, what it does is we have a certain tolerance range for weight loss, and we increase that tolerance range when you're in your first week, because the first week you're losing more water weight because you're having a reduction in glycogen, which stores water associated with it. And you also have a decreased amount of food you're taking in, so you have less water in your GI. And some of your digestive tissues actually shrink as well. So yes, we do take into account the change in body water and the probability that you're going to have a greater weight loss the first week than you would otherwise. Carbon just bumped me to 2,800 calories and I'm pumped about it. Hell yeah. Okay, let's see here. If I want to take a 1-week diet break, does Carbon have that option? We don't have like a diet break specifically built in, but all you have to do is switch your goal to maintenance, and it will ask you if you want to use your current metabolism or calculate new. If you have had at least 4 compliant check-ins consecutively, then I would use current metabolism because it's going to be pretty accurate. If you have not, I would calculate new, however. But it's that simple. All you got to do is that, and then boom, you're on maintenance for a week. That's diet break, and then back to fat loss. James says, weekly calories versus daily calories for fat loss. If I hit my weekly calories but over or under eat for 1 day, does that affect my goals? If it does, it's probably pretty minimal. I mean, we allow calorie cycling in Carbon as part of that app. So yeah, there's been a few studies looking at this, and as of now, they don't really show any differences in the amount of fat you lose eating more calories on 1 day versus another. Some people will say, well, calorie cycling is like even better and you lose more fat. There's no evidence for that. I would say whatever allows you to be the most consistent. Can you please post some powerlifting content on your main feed? I would appreciate some recommendations and tips. Unfortunately, I have to make a living, and my social media is my most valuable tool to make that living. And powerlifting content does not sell that well because, one, powerlifters are some of the stingiest people out there, and they just don't buy things. And two, it's just not that popular content for me. It's not educational content. So I actually made a second Instagram, or I have a few, but it's called Layne Trains. And if you want to see more powerlifting content, it'll be on there. Kirk says, I'm having problems with attaining my protein goal and carbon. I've been on the muscle gain program and just changed to reduce carb. How do I make that more attainable? Kirk, are you having trouble because it's too high or you feel it's too low? Gotta give me the more information. Let's see here. What advice would you give a nutrition undergrad looking to get started in the field of coaching? Well, I think you're probably just gonna have to get started coaching. Like a nutritional science undergrad is a great degree, but it's not going to teach you how to coach people. So, I mean, it may give you some information, but really the way I learned to coach was just to start coaching. Like it started with coaching myself and then coaching other people. I mean, I would recommend starting at a very, 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 very low price and just try to convince people to work with you. And even if it's doing it for free, just get some practice. You need some practice. And that's what I would recommend. I would not have become the coach I am today, or I was when I was still coaching, if I had not taken that leap and just started working with clients. And I just started off very, very cheap, and I was very conservative, and I always make sure that you're keeping the health of your client first and not making any crazy recommendations. And I think you'll be fine. And just stick to your evidence-based principles. Kirk says, the protein intake is too high. I'm having trouble reaching it. So first thing is you can actually go into the dietary preferences setting in carbon. And you can lower that slider, which will make it a little bit easier to hit. The other thing is, quite simply, increase your portion sizes of your protein sources. That's it. Just eat more of the protein sources you're already eating. Now, if you're eating, say, fattier cuts of meat, you may need to switch to leaner cuts of meat so that you can get the requisite protein while also not getting a bunch of fat along with that. But you just need to increase your portion sizes that you've been consuming for protein. How to get adequate protein when you are sick with strep throat and limited in what you can eat. Protein shakes. Sorry that you got strep. That sucks. But protein shakes, I guess, would be my recommendation. What are some of your go-to low-fat, high-protein sources? Greek yogurt is definitely one because it's tasty. I can mix a lot of stuff with it. It's zero fat, so that's a great option. And then chicken breast, that's another one. Protein shakes, that's another one. And some other cuts of meat. I mean, some cuts of like steak that are like sirloin, or even like some cuts of pork are pretty lean. So those tend to be my kind of my go-tos. Egg whites are another one. Let's see here. So much information out there about deficits and a surplus while cutting or building. I lift and do cardio, but I'm eating. Sorry, I have to look over my camera to see this. But I'm eating with a deficit with carbon, trying to cut a few more pounds. Are they really mutually exclusive? So this goes down to can you gain muscle and lose fat at the same time? Sure, you can gain muscle and lose fat at the same time if you meet some certain criteria. Like if you're new to training, sure, absolutely. If you're obese or overweight, sure, you could lose some fat and gain some muscle. If you're on performance enhancing drugs, sure. If you are coming from a low protein diet, switching to a high protein diet, maybe a little bit, or any combination of those four things. But if you're not one of those four things, it's going to be really, really hard, really hard. If it was that simple, wouldn't everybody just do that? just recomp their way to an impressive physique. I mean, here's why you know that recomping, I'm not a big fan of it. Because if you start out, like when I started lifting, I was skinny. And I still wanted to be shredded. So why could I just recomp my way to an impressive physique? Well, I was 140 pounds. I was 140 pounds. You've got to add mass. You've got to add weight if you want to build an impressive physique. Now, you can try and do both things at once, and you're just usually going to do this, which is what I found myself doing. Until I did dedicated phases of trying to add mass and then cutting back. Now, just because you're adding mass doesn't mean you have to get sloppy. That's people seem to think, well, if I'm adding mass, I must just be going into like fuck it mode and bulking like crazy. No, you can be in a controlled calorie surplus that allows you to maximize your muscular adaptations, give you more energy for training without getting fat. It can be done. It just requires a lot of, wait for it, magic word, patience. Any ideas on non-dairy, high-protein options that are not meat-related? Egg whites, that's not meat, but if you're a vegan, you're probably going to have to use some kind of protein powder, to be honest. Okay, here we go. Does metabolism really slow down that much during fat loss? Isn't it really about meat? Okay, so this is like the Law McDonald criticism. So I've talked a lot about metabolic adaptation, and I've talked about how when you diet, your energy expenditure goes down, your metabolic rate slows. And some people criticize that. And they say, well, metabolic adaptation is completely overblown. You know, your BMR only decreases by 15%, and the rest is just meat. So BMR is your basal metabolic rate, which is about 50 to 70% of your daily energy expenditure, depending on your job and how much you train. So 15% of your BMR is not insignificant. My BMR is 2,000 calories per day, approximately. If I had a reduction in my BMR of 15%, that's 300 calories of reduction in my BMR. And that's just from BMR. Your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, is like your subconscious movements throughout the day, like this, like me just doing that. That's a small subconscious movement. Turns out your NEAT is actually a significant portion of your daily energy expenditure. And when you diet, your NEAT can drop as much as 600 calories per day. So between that and my BMR, that's like 900 calorie reduction in energy expenditure. That's freaking huge. Now people say, well, it's just NEAT, so it's just activity. So I'm just going to go out and do a walk to get my NEAT up. No, NEAT doesn't work that way. If you are purposely, consciously making the decision to do that, that is called exercise, and that's fine. But you need to understand that NEAT isn't something you can modify. And people like Lyle, they will pass NEAT off as, oh, well, it's just activity. It's just physical activity. Well, who gives a shit? You can't really modify it because it's completely subconscious. So it's completely valid to be concerned about the decrease in energy expenditure from reductions in NEAT. Absolutely loving the app. My question is, how do I know if my calories are high enough to begin a cut? Good question, Corey. If you've been reverse dieting, the app will actually let you know when you're in a good place metabolically in terms of energy expenditure. But yeah, basically the question is, okay, well, if you're in a good place, then you'll be able to cut on an amount of food that doesn't cause you to be horribly hungry. So that would be my practical recommendation. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this, mash that heart button, mash that like button, let people know everywhere that you're loving this live. Just wanted to say thank you. Down 5 kilograms on carbon, enjoying all types of food and beverages. I've gotten a much more balanced and healthy relationship to food. Well, that comment's getting pinned. Thank you so much, Emil. Appreciate that. What do you think about drinking raw egg whites versus cooking them? I think it's pretty stupid. People do it because it looks cool. The uncooked egg white is about 40% less digestible than a cooked egg white. And the reason for that is the colloidal nature of the egg. So these people who are just like putting raw eggs into a cup and drinking it, thinking it looks cool, thinking they're making all these gains, no, you're losing about 40% of that protein. So just cook them. In fact, all these raw people out here, these people are like, oh, well, you should eat raw because that's how we developed, et cetera, et cetera. And when you cook protein, you denature it. These people have never had a basic biochemistry class. I can tell you that. Because part of your entire digestive process, not entire, but a good portion of your digestive process when it comes to proteins is denaturing them. Cooking proteins typically increases bioavailability. It does not decrease bioavailability. So cook your proteins. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm just looking for questions. Really unhappy with my weight. All my clothes fit tight. Would you use a bigger deficit to get started to drop fat fast, or just a pound a week, et cetera, et cetera? You can use a bigger deficit to get started, but what I see time and time and time and time and time and time again is I see people who they start a fast deficit because I just want to get it off. I just want to get it off. I just want to get it off. And they go really hard. And then they get to the point where they're really hungry and they binge and they break. And then they've set themselves back. And then they quit or they take a break from it because it was so intense. Every time I read The Tortoise and the Hare, the tortoise wins. That's all I'm saying. Like, why are you in a rush to get this off? That's the question. Well, how is that going to change? How is losing, if you over the next month lost 10 pounds or 5 pounds, do you really think that 5 pound difference is going to change your life? But what if I told you that if you lost the 10 pounds in a month, it actually increases the chance that you're going to regain it back? Whereas if you lost the 5 pounds, you'd have a better chance of keeping it off. What would you choose? People let what they want right now fuck up what they want most. Don't sacrifice what you want most for what you want right now. So if you can do that big deficit and be consistent, go for it. But if you can't, functional medicine doctors said I'm in a big magnesium deficiency and insulin resistance. This means I'm overtrained. Feels like more carbs cause terrible mood, low energy. You have bought into a lot of bullshit. Just in that phrase right there, like overtraining is not going to make you insulin resistant. That's not actually a thing. How did your functional medicine doctor assess this? Did he actually do a blood test to measure blood levels of magnesium, or was it something else? Yeah. Let me see here. Sorry, looking for questions. Does the planner reset on check-in day automatically, or do I reset it myself if I adjust a few days? So the planner resets automatically after you check in. However, it is going to default to what the previous week was, because some people like to calorie cycle in roughly the same way each week. So when you go to a new week, or when you check in, if it increases your calories, it will increase them in the same proportion of what they were previously. So you may have to go in and, like, if you want the calorie cycling to be different from the week before, you may have to go in and change it manually. Thank you, Tammy. This app is life-changing. Awesome. Okay. Stacy says, I just want to say thank you, and that you and Holly and the rest of your team rock. I'm a member of Carbon, the BioLayne workout builder, and a daily user of your Outwork Nutrition, which is the best out there. Thank you. I'm missing my recovery since it went out of stock, but it's ordered and should be here soon. And I'm part of the 16-week challenge with Coach Keith. So thank you for changing my life. I'm finally doing things the proper way, and the results are amazing so far. Awesome. I love hearing that. Thank you so much, Stacy. Really appreciate that. That's amazing to hear. That's why we're in this business. Best calorie-dense foods for mass gaining. This always blows my mind when people are like, what food should I eat to gain weight? Highly calorie-dense, hyper-palatable foods. Like, people are like, oh, I don't have an appetite. Well, that's because you're eating nothing but oatmeal and broccoli, bro. Like, have some pizza, have some cereal, have some ice cream. Like, you can have those things. Now, make sure that you are having some nutritious foods so that you're getting enough fiber, you're getting enough micronutrients. But on top of that, if you need more calories, eat more calorie-dense foods. This is not difficult. What is the ideal protein intake per pound weight loss? That doesn't make any sense. Like, it's per pound of lean body mass, not how much weight you lose. Hi, Layne. I'm a 2-week subscriber and really enjoying the app. Can you please suggest how to track collagen protein powder? I believe it's not a complete protein. Oh, sorry, guys. No, it is not a complete. Well, it depends on what you mean by complete. Complete protein, most proteins are complete in that they have all the amino acids. But collagen is low in some of the essential amino acids. It's actually a really terrible protein. So I'm hoping you're not using it for the goal of hypertrophy, because it's actually a terrible protein for building muscle. That said, if you're using it for like hair, skin, nails, whatever, there's some information on that. Track it as protein. It's protein. Even if you're using that, if it's incomplete, you're still eating other sources of protein, hopefully, that are complete and will complement that protein. So you don't need to worry about it. Just track it as regular protein. I've never counted macros. Can the app coach help me with basics? Yeah, I mean, you still have to like weigh your food and kind of like get an idea of what's in stuff. And I know that can be very daunting to people, but I am telling you, I have studied nutrition for 20 years. I've done a PhD in nutritional sciences. I have published original nutrition research in reputable scientific research journals. I have competed at the highest level in bodybuilding and powerlifting, 2 sports where nutrition is very important. And the most I ever learned about nutrition, ever, was simply when I was 18 years old, and I started tracking my calories, my protein and carbs and fats for the first time. And we didn't have apps like Carbon back then. All I had was the complete book of food counts, a book about that thick, and a pen and paper. And I just tracked what I ate. And I went through the store and I was like, oh, I wonder if this is a high protein food. Oh, I wonder if this is a low protein food, or this is a high carb food, or whatever. And in that 2-week time period where I first started doing that, I had never and have never since then learned more about nutrition and my own body than by doing that. I would tell you, just start. Just start. You're going to screw it up. You're going to get it wrong from time to time. That's okay. You're going to learn so freaking much. It's like if you've never kept a budget about your money before, you're going to be blown away at where you're spending your money, right? If you track your food, you will just be blown away. It will be a complete game changer for you. All right. Thanks, Layne. Down 14 kilograms since December. That is over 30 pounds for people who don't speak actual scientific units. Should be at the goal weight by start of 2022. No compliance issues, but would you recommend switching to reverse diet earlier to prevent metabolic slowdown? I mean, you can if you want. I tend to tell people who have a lot of weight to lose to take it in chunks. You know, like if you had 100 pounds, like if somebody had 100 pounds to lose, for example, I'd say, you know, lose 10 or 20 and then break for a few weeks. Like just give yourself a hot minute, you know, and then do another 10 or 20 and then break for a few weeks, you know, or reverse diet or whatever it is. Or do diet breaks regularly throughout the diet. That's great too. But yeah, you need to, just even from your own sanity perspective, you need that. Can you explain a bit more the lifestyle selection in the app between sedentary, light activity, moderate? Do you track this by steps per day? So you could, I would say under 4,000 steps per day is sedentary. 4,000 to 6,000 is probably lightly active. 6,000 to like 8,000, 9,000 would be moderately. 9 to 11 or 12 would be, you know, very active. And then like over 12,000 steps a day would be, you know, really active lifestyle, I would say. But again, I mean, you know, if you want to make it job wise, you know, obviously sedentary is sedentary, like you sit for most of the day. Lightly active might mean you have to do some walking a little bit as part of your job. Moderately active means you're probably on your feet most of the day. Very active is like, you know, you're a post office delivery person where you're like, you know, carrying packages and walking, you know, all day. And then very active is like a heavy labor job. Okay, this is a good question. This is a common misconception. Oh, how would you recommend taking a diet break with the app? Like stop tracking altogether, or does the app let you take a diet break? So you are misinterpreting, hi Jenna, by the way, you are misinterpreting what a diet break is. So a diet break does not mean you stop tracking. It doesn't mean you stop doing the dietary behaviors. It doesn't mean people think, oh, a diet break, I'm just going to do whatever. No, it's just a period of eating at maintenance calories. So many people screw up diet breaks because they'll go, oh, I did a diet break and I put on 5 pounds. Well, that's because you weren't at maintenance. Like we should call it practicing maintenance, not a diet break. Layne Norton, I love you. Never had that before. Can you discuss the pros and cons of early check-ins for new users? I would not check in early unless you have to. So meaning if you're about, like for me, like a few weeks ago, I had a seminar out of town. I checked in early by a day because I knew I was going to be able to take my weight when I was out of town. That'd be an example. some people are like, oh, well, I know I've got this thing coming up and maybe my weight will be higher, so I'm going to weigh in a day early. Do not do that. That is gaming the app. Don't do it. Jason says, can you speak to the T3 hormone? I'm not that strong in its purpose. My doctor states I have low T3, and he believes getting it in line can help with weight loss. On top of being in a deficit, trying to be short, but it involves hypothyroidism. I don't quite understand that last part. But anyway, so yes, T3, your thyroid hormone, is involved in how much energy you expend every day. So if you have low T3, you can have reduced levels. Your BMR can be reduced. So if it is clinically low, I would recommend getting it treated because it would help you. Oh, pardon me. Pardon me. How many compliant check-ins are necessary before switching goals when you are new to the app? Diet break to fat loss. I'm on my first week and I absolutely love the app. It's a total game changer. You can change your, like, for example, if you're just using a diet break, you can change it after a week. That's fine. I would say probably do, at least 2 weeks. But yeah, the problem becomes when people so here's what tends to happen with a lot of people who get weird numbers on the app. They go in and they select fat loss or whatever goal, and they don't like the numbers it gives them. So then they go back and they change it and they do something else. And then they play with this and they play with that. And then they try to finagle it to get the macros they want. And it's like, why are you doing coaching if you just already know the macros you want? So if you're not doing that, if you're not messing around with it and trying to tinker with it to give you macros that you want, you're going to be fine. If I switch from fat loss to reverse dieting, will the app start my calories from maintenance and then slowly increase them, or will it start from current calories and increase them from there? It will start you at your actual maintenance. So your actual amount of calories that you will maintain your current body weight at. Let's see if there's some other good questions here. Can you build muscle on a reverse diet? Of course, absolutely, 100%. I am starting a reverse diet myself, and I'm looking to add some muscle. But yes, a good lean gaining phase and a reverse diet are like this. They are right together. There's very little difference between the two. What can one expect when starting a reverse diet? Is weight gain inevitable? No, it's not inevitable, but it's likely. Most people who do a reverse diet do gain some weight, but you got to get the fuck over it, to be honest with you. If you're doing it because your energy expenditure is in the crapper and you're having to go really, really low calorie in order to get, any kind of weight loss whatsoever, what's the other option? What is your other option? And so I think people want me to have a crystal ball and tell them, nope, if you do exactly X, Y, Z, you will not gain any weight and you'll get your calories to 4,000 and all this kind of stuff. And that's just not a reasonable expectation. Some people do reverse dieting and they lose a little bit of weight. Some people maintain their weight. Most people add a small amount of weight. And so you just need to commit to the process, without knowing what the outcome is going to be, because that, ladies and gentlemen, is called life. Because there are no guarantees in life. The only guarantees in life are death and taxes. And that's it. So I can't give you any guarantees about reverse dieting. What I can tell you is that if you do not commit to the process, you will not get what you want. This is the same thing when people ask me, hey, what do you think about my genetics? I don't know. Who gives a shit? You can't change it. You can't change what your genetics are. So why do you, or some people say, how much muscle can I build in a year? Do you think I could build this much? There's no way to know. There's no way to know. So what you basically want, what people want, is they want me to tell them, yes, if you do X, Y, Z, you will get exactly this. That's not how life works, kiddos. This is why this stuff is hard. This is why this is hard. Because you have to commit to doing the work with zero guarantee that you're going to get what you want. Everything I've ever done in life, with any goal I've ever had, there was zero guarantee I was going to get that goal if I did the work. But I had to do the work, because if I didn't do the work, there was zero chance I was going to get it. So you have to decide, are you willing to do the work even though there's no guarantees? And if you're willing to do the work, you got a much better chance of getting to what you want than if you're not. And thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Thoughts on the carnivore or lion diet? Fucking stupid. Can you build muscle and maintain it without testosterone? My blood levels are very low and I struggle with energy, strength, and hypertrophy. You can always get treated for that. But actually, there was a study done recently where they looked at high and low responders to resistance training, and they actually found that testosterone levels were not a predictor of high and low responders to resistance training. People with low testosterone on average responded just as well as people with high testosterone. All right, let's see here. Let me see. How do you break a bad habit with overeating high-calorie, sugary snacks? Go cold turkey or just have small amounts? It depends on what kind of dietary habit it is. If you're just having trouble controlling portion sizes, that's probably just, exposure therapy. But if you're somebody who like binge eats this sort of stuff, then that's something that you need to do therapy for, because that's usually due to another underlying issue besides just hunger. Okay, here's one. Why doesn't carbon ask for your height? Here's why. Because height mostly means fuck all in terms of your metabolic rate and your energy expenditure. Okay? So, what the biggest four predictors of energy expenditure are, in order: lean body mass, fat mass, age, and sex. Okay? Those are the big four. Now, if you are taller, you will likely have more lean body mass. If you are shorter, you will likely have less lean body mass. However, some people who are tall have less lean body mass, and some people who are short who have more lean body mass. It is the lean body mass that is the much bigger predictor. So these equations that use height and weight are quite inaccurate compared to ones that actually use lean body mass, like the Mueller equation, which is essentially the skeleton of what we use for calculating someone's BMR in carbon. So if an app is asking you for your height in order to calculate BMR or energy expenditure, you are using an app or a website that is using a calculation that is out of date and, quite frankly, not very accurate. Post-comp reverse has gone bad. Where does someone get back under control? Just start. Just start where you are with what you've got right now. That's all you can do. And give yourself some grace. Most people fuck up the reverse diets after a contest because they try to start out too conservatively, and then they're crazy hungry and end up binge eating. So just give yourself some grace. You're probably beating yourself up about how you look. Guess what? Nobody cares except for you. All these people I see, you would not believe the amount of people I see that have amazing physiques who think they look like shit. My wife being one of them. So, what I advise you to do is go down to the beach or the pool, wherever you are, and look at other people's physiques and objectively ask yourself, how many of them look significantly better than me? And my guess is your answer will be very few, because you're a professional competitor. Therefore, no matter how fat you think you might be, you're still in better shape than 99% of people who are out there. So my advice to you is start where you are with what you have right now. Give yourself some grace and keep it all in perspective. All right, guys, that's it for me this week. I hope you've enjoyed the live. If you have not downloaded Carbon, make sure you download it. We have over 31,000 members on Carbon now, subscribed. We are killing it. We have a 4.7 rating in the App Store because it's that good. And honestly, most of the bad reviews were freaking trolls. So this is the app. I cannot say it enough. I love the app. I use the app every day for myself. I love it. It is fantastic. It is the best money you can spend in the fitness industry. I promise you. It is amazing, and it's only going to get better. We have a lot of really cool shit coming. So those of you who already are members, thank you so much. Truly appreciate you being members of our coaching app. And for those of you who aren't, what are you doing with your life? It's nutritional coaching for $10 a month. It's like a no-brainer. Like MyFitnessPal charges $10 a month, and all they do is let you track your food. Oh, we actually coach you for $10 a month. All right, guys. You guys have a great weekend. I will catch you next time.